Good evening, happy Memorial Day, and welcome to the Night Mix. It's 98.3 WPKO. It's Monday Night Live. And in the studio tonight, joined with Bryant's Dill, 2007, Benjamin Logan grad, writer and poet from around the area, getting ready to perform this Saturday afternoon at the Columbus Arts Festival in downtown Columbus. Bryants, thank you so much for talking with us today, buddy.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And getting ready for your performance coming up this Saturday. You've been writing since, you said, 13.
Yep.
And what got you into, starting... Now, when you first started writing, were you automatically writing poetry, or were you writing short stories? How did you get started?
I always liked writing short stories in elementary school. I always loved doing that, so I always liked writing. But didn't really start actually doing it, other than for school until I was 13, and I just, saw some other people who were doing it. I'm like, well, if they can do this, and why can't I? So I started doing it, just more or less trying to mimic them, and then from there just kind of morphed into my own thing.
Now, is it kind of a collective amount of people, or do you have certain people who are, you say, this is where I really draw my influences from, or this is kind of my mentor? Do you have anyone like that, or do you just kind of draw it from a collective kind of general group?
I'd say there are some people more specific than others that have been a big influence, but I don't know, I guess it's somewhat collective, but then there are certain specific people.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And you said you started off kind of writing some short stories, correct?
Yeah, short stories, mostly just stuff for school. I always get carried away with them. They'd end up being twice as long as what they're supposed to be, because I was trying to put way too much detail into them. So,
now, when did you start focusing more on the poetry aspect of your writing?
That was probably when I was 13. I started focusing on poetry, and then a couple of years later, I decided to challenge myself to try to write one poem every day for a full year. So as a New Year's resolution, and actually stuck to it, surprisingly.
Really?
It was tough. There were some days where I couldn't do it. I want to say that was the year we ended up having the big ice storm, so then we had no power. So that made things a little difficult, but then I'd try to make up for it the next day, write 2 or 3 to make up for it. And so yeah, I've mostly, there for a while, I mostly focused on poetry, and then here, in the past couple of years, been doing more fiction, short and long fiction, but I've been doing not as much poetry, but what I've written is a lot better than the older stuff. So,
when you first started out writing, and writing whether it be short stories or some of your poems, where did you start drawing your influences from, and how have you seen it change from over the years? I mean, you've been doing this since you're 13. Obviously, my opinion, I think that your inspirations would change gradually, as your personality changes. How have you seen it change from for when you first started to now?
Oh, I've definitely seen a huge change, just in the quality of it, and in the content of it, and the style. I mean, I read some of the stuff that I've written, even just stuff I wrote last year, let alone 5 years ago, and it's just this is totally different. I was 13, so it was a lot of stupid, annoying, rebellious teenager kind of stuff. I hate the government kind of stuff. Nothing with any real, authentic meaning behind it. But now, actually put something behind it, and try to get a point across with it. And I spent a lot of time when I was in college working with after-school programs, so I draw a lot of influence from my experiences with those kids, and a lot of the problems they are experiencing. So a lot of stuff about bullying and things like that, and just more real, meaningful topics. And definitely the style's changed a lot too. I've never been a poet who rhymes. I can't rhyme. I'm terrible at it.
That's interesting to know. That's an interesting little tidbit.
I'm terrible at rhyming. I can't do it well at all. And I'm definitely envious of those people who can just bust out a rhyme, or scribble out awesome alliteration and stuff like that. It's I can't do that. And but there's definitely a lot better flow and rhythm to what I write now. And some of that's now I'm looking more like slam poetry, which is poetry that's written with the intent of being read. And so, like, as I'm writing it, I'm hearing it in my head, and so it just comes out a lot better than the stuff I wrote 5-6 years ago did.
Mm-hmm. Bryant's Dill live in the studio, Night Mix 98.3. You said you can't rhyme, but you said that there's a lot better flow to your writing now. Now, do you think that poets who rhyme a lot in their work, do you think that kind of takes away from their message or from their work in general, compared to somebody who doesn't necessarily rhyme, but they get their point across in a very poetic way, as you seem to do?
I think it depends. I mean, there are some people who are really good at rhyming, and there are some people you can tell they just went with that rhyme
because they sing-songy, maybe.
They went with it because they needed a rhyme.
Yeah.
And when that's the case, it's not a good poem, regardless of like what it's about, and that kind of takes away from it. I really hate like A-B poetry, where you've got a rhyme and then the next line rhyme, and because I think it gets in the way, and you can focus too much on the rhyme rather than the content. And same with like when you're trying to focus on like the meter and stuff like that. Like, I've never understood any of that stuff. I've never even studied it, which some of my poet friends are appalled by that, but I'm okay with that.
Well, it's basically kind of to each their own. If you can form your ideas and get your point across in the way that you do it, who's to say that's wrong?
Yeah, I mean, well, that's the nice thing about writing. I mean, it's your thing. It's a type of art too. I mean, you might not be painting something, but you're writing something, so you can do it however you want. I mean, whether it's a poem, an essay, a short story. I mean, it's yours, and you can throw grammar out the window if you want to. Probably shouldn't do that if you're writing a paper for a college or high school.
Oh, definitely not.
You're not going to get a very good grade on that.
So. Absolutely. Well, you're getting ready to perform this coming Saturday. You said around 1:25. You're going to be taking the stage at the Columbus Arts Festival. Tell us about how you went about, getting your work, into the show. It sounded like it was quite the process.
Yeah. Well, it started out
actually, I guess the backstory. You do a lot of open mic down in Columbus.
Yeah.
And this is where you kind of got the idea of the festival, correct?
Correct. Yeah, I think it's about a year or so ago I started going to this open mic. I don't get to go too often because I normally work on Wednesdays, and it's an hour's drive, so I don't get to go as often as what I like. They have finally dubbed me a regular though, so that's pretty
nice.
Cool. But yeah, I started going to that after I started watching like some slam poetry online, and I'm like, I should try this. This is really cool. And yeah, one of the guy who runs the open mic, his name's Scott Woods. He's like actually a very well-known poet, and like pretty much any poet knows who he is. And so it's really cool to have him in Columbus because like he's a nationally renowned poet. And but he was talking about the arts festival on Facebook, and I was looking at it. Maybe I should try this. I'm like, why not? I've never done anything like this before. I'm like, I've tried to get stuff published for, it's always rejection. So I'm like, maybe this will actually work out. So I decided I'd try it, and you just submit 2 poems with an entry form, and then I think it took about a week, and they gave you a call or an email of whether or not you made it through. And I made it through, and then you had to go do a stage audition in Columbus at the Thurber House. So you just went and read in front of a panel of 4 judges. I happen to know one of the judges from the open mic, so that was nice. It was nice to have that familiar face there. And so you had 5 minutes. You didn't have to read the ones that you submitted. You could read whatever you want as long as you're under 5 minutes. One of the guys before me did get cut off because he kept rambling on about how many poems he had published and all this. Apparently he thought that helped him out.
Wow.
But so yeah, I read my poems. I thought I did really well. One of the judges had like a big smile on her face and was nodding along the whole time. Like that's a good sign. And so yeah, it was open to the public, but not a whole lot of people really came. It wasn't a big venue. But about a week later, or a few days later, I got an email from him saying that I had been accepted. So now I get to do a 20-minute set Saturday afternoon.
20-minute set.
20 minutes. So that's a little nerve-wracking in itself because at the open mic, you're only allowed 1 poem.
Yeah.
And, the audition is only 5 minutes, so it's like, what am I going to do with 20 minutes? That's like 8 to 10 poems, depending on the length. So.
Were there a certain, when you went into this, did you know that if you did win and get a spot, did you know that it was going to be 20 minutes long? No,
I had no idea what it was going to be. And it was actually only like a month ago that I found out it was going to be 20 minutes. Because apparently she didn't, the lady in charge didn't get an email sent to me, so I had to call to find out when I was even supposed to be doing this. And she's like, yeah, you get 20 minutes, you can read whatever you want. I'm like, oh, really? I get 20 minutes? Like, wasn't expecting that. Yeah, so there's 17 of us. It starts at noon and goes to about 8 o'clock. And each person gets a 20-minute set. And then after that, there's actually a poetry slam led by Scott Woods' team, Writer's Block Poetry. And that'll be great because there's some really great poets on that team, and they've brought home some national titles as well from the National Poetry Slam.
Really?
So should be a fun day. There's lots of great poets all around. There's a few that I know from the open mics that are doing that are also going to be performing that day, and they're all really good. So
Bryant's Dill live in the studio on the Night Mix. It's 98.3 WPKO. How many poems are you looking to do to fill 20 minutes?
Right now I've got a list of 13 that are possible choices. I'm thinking it's probably going to take about 8 to 10.
8 to 10. So you still have some narrowing down to do?
Yeah, and maybe even writing some more. Cause
really?
I'd kind of like to have some sort of a theme. Something I was thinking was maybe like transitioning from like real deep, heavy stuff and then slowly transitioning into something like laugh out loud funny. Mm-hmm. Because I like writing both. I like writing like really funny, satirical kind of stuff and also really deep, heavy, sometimes morbid and depressing stuff.
So you do get into those real life topics that everybody kind of experiences, but not is always brought to the forefront. It's something that we've always you go through by yourself. You know it happens, but you really don't give it any attention, I guess, and you can bring that out perfectly in your writing.
Yeah, there's not much I'm afraid to talk about, especially in poetry, because like I said, it's something you can do whatever you want with. It's freedom of expression. It's your chance to let it all out, and so yeah, I like to talk about a lot of different things. Like I said, I've spent a lot of time working with the kids, so there's a lot of stuff based on like conversations I've had with those kids, and kids coming and talking to me about how they're being bullied and just how they're depressed and how they hate their life, and that's a big topic going on right now in general. We got way too many kids who are killing themselves because the issues they're dealing with at school, and so that's a big thing that I talk about. But then at the same time, I just wrote like a funny poem about Justin Bieber the other night as well.
Nice.
Big wide array of topics.
And you've got a poem to share with us tonight.
Yeah.
And before we get into it, we were talking about you get into the kind of heavy subjects ever so often. You said at your audition in front of the panel, your mom was there, right? And you're a little nervous for that because that was the first time you've ever read anything in front of your mom.
Yeah, she had read both the poems that I was reading that day. She had read both of them. And the one I had to edit up a little because had a little too heavy of language, put it that way, in it. So I had to edit it a little, and so she had read them, but she had never seen me read, and I was a little leery of that. I'm like, wasn't sure how I should feel, but in the end, I mean, it worked out well. I thought I was going to end up being really nervous and not perform well, but I actually thought I did one of my best performances. Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't have many to compare it to, but yeah, I thought it was one of my better ones.
Cool.
So, but it was definitely, I mean, this Saturday is going to be nerve-wracking too, not just because of all those people, because I've got so many friends and family there too, that have never seen me do this before, and probably didn't even know that I did this until a couple weeks ago. So that'll be interesting.
Definitely. Well, it looks like you've got quite a few different little poems there for us. Which one are you going to be sharing with us today?
Well, I brought one that I actually wrote just for the occasion.
Okay.
It's called "You've Got a Face for Radio."
All right. Well, let's hear it. Bryant's Dill live on the Night Mix, 98.3 WPKO.
All right. I always thought it would be cool to be on the radio when I was younger. I was in the newspaper once, but never on the radio. My friend in college had a show on the campus station, and I always secretly hoped he'd ask me to be a guest star. But alas, I have never been on the radio. That is, until now. So here I am on the radio, sitting in a chair in a studio. There's a mic shoved in my face and some headphones on my ears. Justin Bieber is playing on the air. I'm chatting with the host, and I am freaking out. What if I cough too close to the mic, or maybe let out a big sneeze? What if I slur my speech and sound like a drunk frat boy on Thursday night? What if I lock up and can't say anything like that time I met Kate Nash? Please don't make fun of me if my voice cracks. I swear I hit puberty a long time ago. Or, oh no, what if? Just what if? What if I accidentally drop an F-bomb? This is live radio, a family-owned station. There is no time delay, no time to get the bleep in there or try to cover up my mistake. Oh man, I hope I don't end up with the FCC knocking on my door.
Nice. Yes, that is a very big concern for us there. Absolutely. Nice, dude.
Thank you.
Now, you just wrote this. How long ago? Maybe a few days ago?
Maybe 2 weeks?
2 weeks ago.
Whenever we set this up,
yeah,
I decided I should write something just for the occasion.
Well, I do like it, dude. So. Absolutely. Well, cool. Super excited for you this Saturday. Again, you get 20 minutes to fill, so, you're going to do fine, though. I mean, seriously, you'll get up there. It might be kind of weird for the first 5 minutes, but that 20 minutes are going to go fly by. Trust me. You won't believe how fast they will fly by. But we wish you all the best of luck. You're going on 125, correct, this Saturday?
Yep, 125 this Saturday.
And we're trying to think about where it's going to be located. Now, this is going to be kind of like riverfront area?
Yeah, it's down on the riverfront. On the Columbus Arts Festival's website, there's a map. It's columbusartsfestival.org. And they have a map of where it is. I forget the exact streets. I think one of them is Town Street. But that's all I can really remember.
Okay. All right. Well, check out the Columbus Arts Festival website. We can post those to our Facebook page if you'd like to link to those. And again, Bryant, thank you so much for being in the studio tonight. And we wish you all the best of luck this coming Saturday in Columbus.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
For having me on there.